The world won't understand you. Hey, but it's okay. Said the world won't understand you, 'cause I made you in my own way. Said the world won't understand you.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 31 of In a Good Way podcast. Today's special guest is Omar. So same name as me, Omar, but he goes by Reseat, right? He does music. He's an artist, very talented artist. And we're going to talk about not only music, but also some spiritual experiences that he's had. So welcome and thank you for being here.
What's up, brother? Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, usually I like to start off with getting to know how people got started spiritually, right? I don't know if you, since you were little, did you have any spiritual experiences or not really that you could remember?
Like spiritual, like religious? Is that the same thing?
It's not, I mean, it could be the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, I guess before you're really aware, I guess, of something spiritual, people call it religious.
I think as a kid, I didn't really feel ever anything spiritual. Like I don't remember, but like as far as like religious, I just remember like my parents like believing in like certain like saints, like Catholic saints, like Santo Niño de Atocha. Yeah,
That's funny. That's crazy. I'm familiar with that one. So okay, so to me, this is one thing that I feel, right? Is like artists, whether they realize it or not, they're connected, right? Spiritually. That happened to me a lot through my life. Like you're bringing message. You're a channel, whether you realize it or not. No one's probably ever explained that to artists or, sometimes they get it. Like me, I remember writing a song once and 7 years later, that song came true. And I was freaked out. Like, what the hell? Like, how is that possible? You know what I mean? So I noticed that a lot.
Right.
So
I feel, for sure, I feel that way now.
Uh-huh.
But as a kid, I didn't feel like any. I guess I wasn't thinking. I guess like my mind wasn't expanded at that point until like I got older. But yeah, like definitely like now I do feel like more in tune with my spirituality for sure.
Yeah. So then what made you start wanting to do music? Like what triggered that?
The first time, well, I just used to love listening to music, first of all. Like growing up, like I remember listening to like Eminem, Tupac, and everything that was like a West Coast influence. Even growing up, like looking at you, because you were one of my girl cousin's boyfriend's friend that came through, and you had a group already, you and your homie Cable, right?
Yeah.
Called Bandits, and I remember having that CD. I feel like during that time, during the 90s, like when someone had a CD, it didn't even matter if they were famous really. Like to a kid, like it just seemed famous.
Yeah.
Because I remember having that CD with you, and then I remember the cop car in it, and I remember like my brother, my sister, everyone would bump that shit. Crooked Ass Geminis. Like I remember like, but just because of the fact that we like somehow knew you, it was like one of those experiences where it was like, damn, that's so dope. I remember feeling glimpses of like thinking like stuff like that was dope. And like my older cousins, like they all used to rap. Most of them would just freestyle, and some of them had recorded stuff, but for the most part, they were just really good at. They just loved rapping. They just loved freestyling, and they had like friends and other people that were around music, like and then just listening to different artists, like I said. And the first time that I ever wrote a song though was I was 14 years old, and I got kicked out of school for drinking. Wow. And I went to a school that started from 4th grade to 12th grade.
What the hell?
See, because when I was in 3rd grade, my 3rd grade teacher, she called my parents in, like to a parent teacher conference, you know, and like that teacher, me and her, I know her name is Mrs. Edwards. Like I wasn't her favorite student, so I thought like it was like maybe something like negative. I didn't know what the conference was about, basically. And she basically told my parents that I was super advanced, like
Oh wow.
just like she's like, he's just like really advanced, and I'm actually identifying him gifted. So I submitted him into the gifted program. And on top of that, there's a school that starts next year that's from fourth grade to 12th grade that has like a waiting list to get in, but I think I could get you in, you know?
Mm.
And then my parents were like, yeah, let's do it. So I ended up going to that school from fourth grade until ninth grade. I got kicked out ninth grade. But that day that I got kicked out, well, the day that I got suspended before I got kicked out, some kid had took like alcohol to school, and you know, like passing a water bottle, everybody was taking a chug.
Dang.
Somehow, some way, somebody like blamed. Someone said that I was the one that brought it to school, which was well not true, first of all. And then I ended up getting suspended, and then I just ended up writing a song. The next day, I couldn't go to school, so it was one of those suspend. You can't go to school the next day; you're suspended. So I remember I was like, "Fuck, what do I do?" But my parents went to work, like, so I just was at the pad by myself, listening to a beat, and I wrote like basically a story, and it was the first song that I had ever wrote, a story of what happened that day, like from the beginning, walking down the class, going to homeroom, like you know, something like simple like that. I remember,
Yeah.
and just explaining like what happened, that I, you know, that like a little situation or whatnot. And yeah, that was my first song that I ever wrote, and it was on my. I remember it was my dad's birthday. It was December 14th.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
'cause I remember writing on the top of the paper like December 14th, my dad's birthday.
Did you ever record it or?
No,
Oh,
no, not. I never recorded it.
that's crazy. That's crazy, man. No, it tripped me out because when I got kicked out of high school too, like the same. I was with these guys, and they were smoking, smoking weed, and I just happened to be with them. And I remember I was super sick that day, and I just went with them. We had like a rally, and after the rally, I just went with them. And I guess the security guard came, and on our way up to the office, someone threw like a big old, like those Band-Aid boxes full of weed, but they were trying to blame it on me. And I was the one, like, I was just with them. But even the police, like when they took me to the sheriff's station, they kept telling me like, oh, we think it's messed up. You're going to let your friends go down for this. I was like, I don't care. Like, it ain't mine. Like, I was like, I didn't say whose it was, even though I knew, but I was like, it ain't mine. I'm not taking the blame. And they just kept telling me, well, we think it's messed up. You're gonna let your friends go down for it. So that's funny that, yeah, I mean, it sucks, but it's funny that you got like kind of the same situation. They were trying to blame you for it. You know what I mean?
And
So
and that's the crazy thing is that that's the same thing that happened when I ended up getting kicked out, because um when it was like the last straw, I guess, the assistant principal calls me into the office, and with my mom, like
mm,
she called my mom in to have a conference or whatnot, and she basically told me, she's like, look, from my office, out my window, I can see where you hang out, like where we used to kick it.
yeah,
We would call it the beaner poles. It was just like some poles that we kicked it by it, and it had
yeah,
like where we would just hang out at. But she was like, when I look out of the window and I look at you, if the bell rings to go to class and you don't get up to go to class, no one gets up to go to class.
mm,
Like I see like the influence that you have, like, and that you're the leader of your like homies, you know, of your group. Because at the time it was just homies, like it was just school friends or whatnot. And yeah, like she told me all this, and then she basically said like that she was kicking me out, like, and like there was nothing we could do about it. The principal was not there the next day that we went to go talk to the principal. The principal was like, like there's nothing I could do. Everything is already signed. But that lady just had it out for me. She was one of those like Mexican ladies that didn't speak Spanish, like,
Mm.
but like on purpose type of thing. Like I remember like my mom was having like hard time communicating with her, and she was like purpose like, oh, I don't speak Spanish, but her name is Mrs. Aguilar, you know, like
Yeah, that's
yeah, I
cool.
remember that, bro. And then so the principal that next day, he was like, you know what? It's already signed, but the best thing I could do for you is I could talk to another principal of an even better school. It was called Pacific Palisades, and it's a block away from the beach.
So you used to live out there like by Pacific Palisades, or
No, I would take the school bus.
holy way out there?
So yeah, so he's like that's the I could do that. So my mom's like, yeah, let's do that. So she signed me up, but I hated doing that. Because bro, the school bus would pick me up at 5:30 a.m. I had to be at the bus stop.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was the last one to get dropped off at the end of the day, 6 p.m.
Wow.
It was just an all day like, and I just didn't like it over there. So I just basically at that point I kind of started like giving up on school.
Mm.
And I failed every class, and that's why I got kicked out of that school.
Damn.
I only lasted one semester.
Damn, that's crazy. Did you end up graduating from high school though, or?
So trip out. So after that, I basically ended up going to my home school,
Oh,
and then I got kicked out of that school after like 2 months.
damn.
And then I ended up going to a bunch of continuation schools and like those type of schools and like home schools. And eventually, I just spiraled down kind of like my dad died when I was 16,
Mm.
and I just started like spiraling down to where like I didn't really care about school or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I turned 18. I went to jail. I got locked up for a bit, and that kind of like changed my outlook on life. And then later on, when I was like 20, because I always knew that I was smart. I went to that school like I was identified gifted. Like I was always really smart in school.
Yeah.
Um, Even though I only had basically a ninth grade, I literally basically only made it to ninth grade second semester. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I never went anything past that. But when I was like 20, I just wanted to get the GED and and do some college for my mom, because that's what she wanted me to do. So I went to take the practice GED, and the first try, um, I just passed it
Yeah. Yeah.
without no practice, nothing. And then I ended up going to Valley College out here in the Valley for a bit. I took a introduction to recording arts, and I took like the basic general ed, but um but then I just stopped going after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was just after a while. Once like I started doing music, it was just different. I feel like I didn't really need school no more.
Yeah. Yeah. So the whole time though, were you still writing music since from you were when you were 14 all the way through, or?
So from that 14, that what sparked it, that first song from that day that I got suspended. Yeah, yes and no. Like from then on, like I started like hanging out with my friends. At that point, my focus was like graffiti.
Oh,
Like my life was graffiti at some point, right? At that point.
yeah.
So, but there was a point during my graffiti moment where I transitioned into from graffiti, because there was nights that I would just go out and I just want to do graffiti. That's it.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was all that I wanted to do with me and my homies, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And everybody in my environment, everywhere where I was at, that's all we wanted to do. Like that's all we thought of doing, like getting that, just like marking our name everywhere. It was just a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And everyone from my crew, like together, like we just kind of all got into the music.
Mm.
Like there was a point where we kind of stopped doing the graph and we just all like kind of went into the music. Um, but I'm the only one that really like stood to it. you know.
Yeah.
But they all like supported me from that moment, because we went from like going out every night to go mob to just being locked into my room in the closet recording.
Uh,
And that's what it was. And then in my mind I was like, I don't even want to get locked up no more, like, so I don't want to like do more graphs, like, as much as I like the art of it or whatnot, but my passion for music was just way deeper, you know what I mean?
yeah. That's crazy because I went through something similar because of the music. It made me stop messing up. You know what I mean? So, like, once I felt like, hey, I could actually do this, like, I stopped, slowly taking risks. Like, you're taking risks that could get you locked up, like you said, all that stuff, probably end up dead, all that stuff. So, it was the
Right.
music that saved my life. So, that's interesting that,
Exactly.
yeah. So, I mean, that means you really love the music. You know what I mean? To that point.
Yeah, like you said, exactly that. Music saved my life.
Yeah.
Because even during the early stages of like my transition from that like graph to music,
Mm.
one of my best friends was like beefing with another tagger that was a popular tagger too, and he was like the main head of his crew or whatnot. And I remember that one day he told me like he told me something like to where, bro, like, I listened to your music. There's this one song called Summer in the City. It was like one of my first songs, but in like my area, it was like people were listening to it, you know?
Oh, okay.
And he was like, nah, bro, I support you, like your music, like that shit's dope. Like, I like that song Summer in the City. Like, trust me, like I know all the lyrics. And then I kind of didn't believe it, and like he ended up playing the song, and it was at a kickback with other people. Like he wasn't like shy to tell me, like, and I had never met him before though, but I knew that one of my best friends had beef with him, and they had got down before, and he kind of knew that I was like obviously gonna ride for my homie, you know. But he kind of said that in a way to like mesh things
Mm.
between between us, and that kind of like made them mesh their issue. And I just remember like the power of music and how strong that thing could be, you know, that because of my music, like that squashed something that could have been like his crew and my crew like beefing it at that time, you know. And it was like two crews that like grew up in the same area, so it would have been like a lot of fights.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I mean, we seen it like, I grew up in the 90s, obviously. So, I seen like the whole, like, Tupac versus Biggie, all that stuff. So, just like how your music united people, obviously music could separate people, right? Like, have like a whole beef going on. So you've always known that, right? You saw the power of music since early on, right?
Right, right.
So how much does that play into the way you write? Do you feel, because like even this last time, right? When I stopped making music, I don't know, it just felt like I was struggling with like I didn't really want to say nothing negative no more, but because all the political stuff and this and that, I was saying stuff, and I'm very blunt, I don't really bite my tongue when it comes to music. That's my space. Like, no one's gonna tell me what to write on the music. What comes out comes out.
Right.
And it just was coming out like a lot of like, and I was
That's
just
funny
tired
that,
of it.
yeah.
So I had to stop myself, right? Like, or take a break, right? So this is probably the longest break I've taken from music, aside from a couple singles and that, or that. So how do you feel? Do you feel like you still say whatever the hell you want to say, or do you feel like you want to make more positive stuff, or like what direction do you want to take the music in?
I feel like I want to do it all. Like
Mm,
I want my son to listen to when I do my music when he gets older, to the stuff that's more provocative, you know,
yeah.
so he could understand where it is that I came from during that time and how I felt during that time. Because I have music of me when I was younger that I probably wouldn't make today because I'm not living kind of the same exact lifestyle, like I still live in the hood, but I'm not really like out there like that, like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just a dad, taking care of my family,
yeah, yeah.
and then working a regular 9 to 5 while I'm still trying to pursue this rap career. So in that sense, like the music that I'm making now is like more conscious, like that I have a son as a dad, um, of like the influence that I want to leave like for my people, like because I want to influence like Mexican Americans like all over the world, So I definitely want to have music that influences, but I also want to have music that's gangster shit, music that's like club shit, music that's smoker shit. Like I don't want to have any type of like cap on any type of music because especially now that I'm tapping in more with like a melodic side, I've been singing more. I've been working more with live instruments and bringing in like live live guitarists and different stuff like that. That now I'm making more like love music. Before I wouldn't really make no love music, to be
Yeah.
honest. It was always heartbreak stuff,
Mm.
and that's another thing that I'm tapping into lately. So definitely like now that I'm working on the album, like I have a song where I feel like is a life conscious type of song. I have a song where you could bump in the club. I have a song you could bump in the street. I have like I definitely always think of that. I think
Yeah.
of like I even have a Spanish reggaeton song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all in Spanish.
Yeah.
And I'm working on trying to do like a trap corrido.
Oh what?
Like a trap corrido.
Oh yeah,
Like a
yeah. No, those are I've
yeah.
heard a few like when they mix it like the
Right, right,
modern
right.
sound with the corrido, and yeah, I've heard some good tracks out there. So yeah, yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah,
that's
for
dope.
sure.
Yeah, like reggaeton, it's good, right? But I kind of always hated it because there was a time when like when reggaeton was barely coming in, where it was almost like they were trying to make me sell out to do reggaeton. And I had this conversation with this guy, and like a vice president of some record company, and he's like an older white guy, and he's telling me, well, this is what your people need, so this is what we're gonna give them. So and they had heard a really hardcore hip hop in Spanish song for me. I think it was my first hip hop in Spanish song, and it was all political, boom, boom, like really culturally proud. And because he was trying to tell me that he knew what my people needed, I remember, and that's what he wanted me to do, like some dancey type stuff. And I was like, dude, that's not even what I do. So I hated reggaeton for the longest time, but it was crazy because my brother that passed away, he loved every time we would go to his house and he'd have like family gatherings, he played reggaeton, right? So he loved reggaeton. And after he passed away, I ended up doing a reggaeton song. And it's really good. I never promoted it, but it's a really good song, and it's reggaeton, and it came out perfect. I'm like, damn, this would be, to me, it sounds like it would be a hit if I promoted it right, made a video, this and that, all that stuff. But it was
Hmm.
good. It was more like for him, in his memory. I did this song. It came out like boom, easy. And so it's crazy. Even I did a reggaeton song. So yeah, whatever you're feeling, like, yeah, I'm all for it, the
I
artistic
th- and
expression.
I think it's important also that whatever you do, that it's not from a point of view where it's like you're forcing anything. Because anything that I have ever done when it comes to like even thinking of these ideas where I want to do this type of song or this type of song, I did the reggaeton song because I actually listen to reggaeton. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like Bad Bunny. I listen to these artists, like I love listening to this music at a certain time, like so none of it is like forced. And I feel like that's important because some people do force it. If you really don't like it, then you probably shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And but I feel like everything that I try to do is just like natural. Like if it's something that I'm not feeling, then I move on. It's another beat, it's another, like I don't dwell on like anything that seems forced to me,
Yeah.
Not saying that everything is a smooth ride because there's songs that take forever to finish, but everything that I make, like if I know that it's like a throwaway song, like it's just not there, and it's
Yeah.
just all right, you know.
You'll do it or you won't do it.
No, nothing that's like forced, nothing that's like someone like, hey, bro, like, if someone were to tell me to do an opera song right now, like, no, I don't think I can hit that note, first of all. And I don't really like listen to that, but I mean, damn, now thinking about it, maybe I could get an opera singer in like in the hook though, you know?
Yeah.
We could
No.
we could still make it happen.
See, I'll challenge because to me it's a challenge. Like
Right.
the very first club song. See, when I finally did a club song, I remember because to me it's always like boom, the first verse, like it's like on the spot. I'll do it, and that's it. Usually ends up good. I might have to change a few words here and there, but I'm pretty dead on. Like I'll write something and that's it. But the first time I wrote a club song, I remember I ended up using like the very first verse, and then it would only have two verses, and I wrote the first verse, and then all the middle ones, like I couldn't get it right. It was like, dude, they were garbage. So it was like the first verse came out good, and then the 8th verse. So I had to write 8 verses for just the 2 verses, right? So like 6 of them were no good. And I remember I was frustrated. I was like, what the hell? Like, that's the hardest song I ever wrote. But after that, now I could write club songs, right? But because I wasn't used to, mine was more like gangster or whatever, hip hop, this and that. But I forced myself, and it was a challenge. And I remember even homeboy at the studio, he was like, he looked at me, he was like, nah, and I had never got that, like, huh?
He was like, that ain't it, my boy.
Yeah. That crushes your soul. Like I was, like, oh shit, like I saw, I was like, and I had to go like, I had to go home and they gave me examples that I listened to like some Lil Wayne or something, which I didn't really listen to, you know what I mean? So I kind of like saw like some kind of club stuff and just made it my own, right? Like, and then I got kind of the patterns, right? Like I studied it, so it was good. It felt good. That was hard work just to write that song, but I feel like it makes.
And that's what it takes. It just takes like, you just need to write another club song and another club song and another club song, and then it's gonna be, you're gonna get that one that you is the right one.
Yeah.
I feel that.
No, for sure. And I wanted to ask you something. If it's too personal, you don't have to answer it, right? But like when your dad passed away, did you ever have any experiences with that? Like, did you ever dream of him? Did he visit you? Did anything like that after he passed away, or you don't really remember?
Like something that's like spiritual or something where like I felt him. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean any of those things. Because I know now, like, because I try to explain that to people. Like, when people think like, oh, I just dreamed them, but I know that's like, to me, I know, right, that's them visiting you. But I know for some people they want to use the logical brain more, like, all that stuff doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Which, whatever, I don't care what people believe. That's fine. I'm not trying to convince nobody. But I'm just curious if you had any experiences that you remember.
The only ones that I really remember is that when I've gone to visit him, like to the cemetery.
Yeah.
That there was one time this lady that she was just the nicest lady for some reason. And she was talking to me and my sister. It was in Spanish the whole time. I forgot what exactly she was saying, but we just felt so like at ease with her, and like we just felt like her pain. She had said, I think, that her husband had passed away, and she was like, a cute old lady. And we just remember never seeing her again, and never seeing like the tombstone that she said was there.
Wow.
Like, remember going back to like, yeah, my husband's over there, and we remember like telling my mom and my brother, like, this lady, like, she just like left, like, we don't know what it was, but she just left some type of like feeling where like we just, I don't know, like we knew her or we felt at peace with her.
Yeah, like
in
she was
some
an
weird
angel
way.
or something.
Yeah, like if she was an angel or something. Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Yeah. That's crazy. See, my dog agreed. My dog, I don't know if you could hear. Right when we said that, she's like,
No,
He's
yeah,
outside
I
killing much
remember
crazy.
that.
Yeah, man. And did you ever feel like he was giving you signs with anything like throughout your life? Do you ever feel like you get little signs here and there?
To be honest, like never in a way to where it's like damn, I feel him right here. But I
Yeah,
mean, I know he's there, you know.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
But never to where it was like, oh wow, like that's trippy, or you know, like
Yeah,
not yet,
yeah,
but
yeah.
hopefully soon, you know.
No, I mean, I think then, maybe since it happened when you're young. See, like I know like my brother, right? Like but it was because I think I needed to have that connection, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, I guess, even me, right? Like when I started getting more in tune spiritually, I stopped connecting with people around me, right? So you don't relate as much. You kind of go in your own world. So like, who do you have to talk to? So it's almost like I became closer with people on the other side than people here because I
Mm,
wasn't relating to people here. So it's like someone has to talk to me. You know what I
that's
mean? So
crazy.
so that's
Yeah.
what it is. So it's not nothing like bad, or it's just like, hey, like
No,
I don't
yeah.
think people realize there's always something looking after you. You're never
For
really
sure.
alone. That's why it's sad when people feel they're alone and all that stuff, because you're never really alone. You gotta tap in, or you gotta open up your eyes and see. You know what I'm saying? No one's
Yeah,
really,
for
yeah,
sure.
no one's rooting for you to fail, like ever in life. No, that's why with the music, like I think, hopefully no one watching this gets offended or nothing. But out of like a lot of people that I work with, like I think you have everything it takes to be successful in music. You know what I mean? Like you got the talent, man. So I hope you do take it as far as you feel satisfied with your soul, that boom, this is
Right.
yeah, you give it everything. If until you
Right.
feel like, hey, I'm done with it, I hope you do push it. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, especially talking about like how you mentioned my dad, like for sure, 100%. Like, I feel like because of him, though, it is why I'm doing music. You know, like
mm,
I just haven't like felt like what people say like is like, oh wow, like I seen him, or I felt like his shoulder or his hands on me. Like I haven't felt that, but definitely everything I have I have at this point, like I owe it all to my dad. Like
mm,
I don't think I would be doing music if it wasn't for my dad, because to be honest, when I really started focusing on music, and really all my songs were about like struggle. That's what it was. And like until I lost my dad is really when we started struggling, because when my dad was alive, like he took care of us,
yeah, yeah,
and like I had anything that I wanted when my dad was alive, you know.
yeah,
So going from that to like then like we were in the hood, and like but it's just a single mom, 3 kids, 2 jobs, like was a drastic change.
yeah, yeah.
But because of me starting to let out my emotions from that struggle and writing it down, that's what people around me started relating to.
Mm,
It was like people around me, like the neighborhood, like people that I didn't even know, like the neighbor over there, like, oh, I fuck with your music, I know your song, like word for word. Like I was like, nah, that's crazy. Like, and it was just like in my neighborhood, that's it. But it was like I'm talking about things that other people are relating to too, and that's why like I know that it was my dad, and like a blessing in the sky,
yeah.
like the job that I have right now too is because of my dad. Like my boss's wife used to work with my dad, and
Oh
that's how
wow.
I got that job. And I've been there already for a good while.
Yeah, yeah.
So like even though, and like my dad always said that my sister would be a lawyer ever
Mm,
since she was smaller. And until my dad died, and we basically had a lawsuit against his job because his boss tried to say that he wasn't even allowed to work there or something like that. Like going to, it was this whole thing that we had to like sue his boss for, right?
mm,
And meeting our lawyer and going through our whole case with my dad's case, that gave my sister like the insight on how law works and all that. And that's what actually pushed her to go to law school and actually graduate and, and now she's a lawyer.
Wow. So your
But
sister's a lawyer?
hmm
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah. She went to CSUN and then she went to Southwestern Law School.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, like the tragedies, but at the same time, it's all connected. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like, even when like my brother passed away, like I went to a ceremony and this elder, he told me that. And I know if anyone else had told me that, like I would have wanted to punch him in the face, but because it was like a week after, but I needed that, right? Like the ceremony, right? And they dedicated it to my brother. So, but he told me, he was like, the creator gave you something, don't waste it. And I knew what he meant. I knew like, but like all the pain and stuff, like, but I knew, right? I knew, and especially coming from him, that I respect, like it was, I took it, right? But if someone else had told me that, I would have been like, the hell you mean? Like they gave me something, you know what I mean? How the hell is my brother dying? Like they gave me a gift kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That's how I used to feel too when my dad first died. You know how people say, "Oh, everything happens for a reason."
Oh yeah.
During that time, I didn't want to hear that. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the last thing that I wanted to hear, that everything happens for a reason. Like, why? Like, why do I have to lose my dad when I need him the most? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember, like, and now thinking back, like he's the reason why I do music. He's the reason why I have the career I have. He's the reason why my sister has the career she has. Like he's still blessing me from the sky. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
continues to like look out for me and look out and bless me and just like take care of me. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And now that I'm a father, like I try to tell my son everything about my dad, and I try to be the best dad that I can be to him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, man, that's beautiful. I don't want to, I don't know how much time you have, so I don't want to keep you forever, but I do want to get into like the story you had about your experience with the mushroom, right? Like with it. So I figured since we're talking about the spiritual stuff, might as well jump into like segue into that. I mean, what better time? So if you don't mind talking about that, and as much detail as you want, like I know you told me the story, and so you could say about this experience. I send you, like, did you get to watch like my other friend that had the experience with the mushroom, or I don't know if you got to see that one.
I didn't finish watching it, but I started watching it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they were in
So
Joshua Tree, right?
yeah, yeah. So because I know, I've different people have different experiences, right? But I mean, if you don't mind, just go ahead and share yours, and what I'm saying, I'm sure someone will get something out of it. I got something out of it. Even you telling me your experience, like a lot of things jumped out at me. So yeah, if you don't mind.
Well, I went to Vegas for my 31st birthday 2 weeks ago. No, last week. It was the 16th. And my cousin, one of my cousins, he had brought a chocolate bar of mushroom. First night we were good. We went to the show called The Awakening, which is a trip, because in that show, it's a new show at the Win, but in that show you feel like every emotion. It gives you sadness, happiness. There's a seductive like part where you feel, I guess, horniness. Like you feel every feeling that you could possibly get. And like I took, we separated like the amount into like quarters or whatnot, and I was good. But the second night, I took the double the dose because my cousin, he didn't want to take any. So we went to go see David Blaine, the magician, in Vegas.
So
And
the first night it wasn't David Blaine, it was a different show, or
yeah, it was a different show called Awakening at the Win. Yeah.
And that's funny
But
that it was out of all names, The Awakening. So that's pretty interesting.
yeah, exactly. Because exactly because I feel awakened after this whole experience. But so day of Saturday, David Blaine, I take double the dose, right? And I feel good. I feel good at some point. Um, and there's a guy that was sitting next to, it was me and then my girl and then this guy, right? Yo, are we still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Since the moment that we sat down, when we sat down and the guy seen that our seats were next to him, the guy behind him said something like, "Oh, if someone else comes, sit over there." Like meaning that this guy probably had a ticket, but that wasn't his assigned seat or whatnot, you know? And maybe that's why he was a little fidgety because I felt that guy super paranoid, like just like looking, like scratching himself,
Oh wow.
like fuck, like and his stress started making my trip like started making me stress, you know? And I'm like, why the fuck is this so stressed out? And now that's when I started like visualizing like different things. Somehow like I was like connecting dots, right? And I was like, all right, why is this guy nervous? Why is this guy nervous? And my brain started like giving me answers where it's like every deja vu moment that I've had has led up to this moment. Like just everyone was supposed to be here. That lady in front of me is supposed to be here. Everything is supposed to happen in this moment. We're all in this room at this moment. And for some reason, a thought comes into my head to where he's stressed out because he knows that I'm gonna die tonight.
Mm.
Like that's what my mind was telling me at that point. And I'm like, and that's just what I was like, fuck. And then like once I thought of that, I looked at him and I'm like, and he looked even more stressed out. And I'm like, fuck. And now he knows. And then my girl, she was like, hey, like after this is done, like let's go back to the hotel. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. And when he said that, oh, when she said that, I'm like, we could leave now. Like, and I kind of was in a way testing him to see what he would say because I knew he could hear me, right? And I was like, we could leave now. And when I said we could leave now, I seen him like look, and he was like, fuck, like damn. Like he's leaving now. And then at that point, my mind shifted into where I don't think he knows that I'm gonna die. I think he's behind who's gonna kill me at that point. Like
Oh, so you
now,
thought someone was gonna kill you?
yeah, after, right at that point. Because at first moment, I was just like, he just knows and he's stressed about me and he's like worried about me because he knows that I'm gonna die and he knows that I'm a stranger or whatnot. But he just somehow knows that he was in the perfect moment at the right time and he just knows or something, you know, to where the world told him,
Yeah.
you know. And at that point, like I said, I started thinking like, fuck, now he's behind, like he's stressed out because I just said that I might leave. And now he's stressed out that I might leave because he doesn't want me to leave because he wants me to die. Right? In my mind. And then that's when I was like, fuck, I am tripping. And I actually told him, I'm like, bro. And this is where I started like reacting upon my trip. And I'm like, bro, why are you acting weird for?
You told
And
him?
he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I told him in real life. My girl's like, man, no. And I'm like, yeah, bro, you're acting weird, bro. You're nervous for some reason. And then he's like, what? Like, nah, bro. And then I'm like, nah, this was weird. Fuck. And then there was instances during this though where I'm like, fuck, am I tripping? Like, am I tripping or am I not? You know?
Mm.
Like I would go in and out of it to where it's like, fuck, is this or is this really the end of me? And then I'm like, damn. So then I call my cousin and I tell my cousin, come get me to my seat. And then he's sitting like 3 or 4 rows down
Mm.
to the left of me, right? And I'm like, come get me to my seat, fool, because I'm tripping bad.
Wow.
And then he's like, bro, like, just come sit behind us. Like, I guess we were at in the back of the whole theater, so where he's sitting at, there's like seats available. Like, it didn't
Mm.
sell out, the show.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's telling me like, go back there. I'm like, nah, bro, you have to come get me to my seat because I'm tripping out bad. And then he's like, all right. And then he comes, and then we go around, and I just tell him, I'm like, bro, I think I need to go back to the room. And he's like, nah, bro, like, you're good, fool, you're good.
Mm.
And then I'm like, nah, I just have this bad feeling, fool, like I'm gonna die right now, like tonight. And he's like, nah, bro, you're good, bro. Like, let's go sit over here. Come on. So now we're going and we're sitting around in the theater, right? Now we're going to the theater, and now I'm sitting next to him, and it's my girl, me, him, um, my cousin, and his homegirl, right? So it's two of my cousins, another girl and my girl. At this point, the show is continuing. David Blaine's on stage, right? And he's saying, this is going to be one of my last tricks, for like final tricks. I'm never going to do this trick ever again. And somehow my mind, my illusions, it starts like showing me that this last trick is like I'm a part of it.
Mm.
And I basically have to sacrifice myself to save David Blaine's life, type of thing. So like something was telling me that I had to go on stage, and there was a countdown like going down. But in reality, it was going up because it was
Mm.
counting how long he was holding his breath underwater in a
And
tank.
you were seeing it as a countdown?
And I was seeing it as a countdown. I didn't even know he was in the tank at all. Because
Oh.
this is what my cousins told me after. Like, I don't even know I didn't even know what he was on because my visual was giving me something else. Like, I was visualizing like flashes of what happens, like the answer of what happens now, like when you die, like it was just like in flashes though, like if it was a movie, like.
Mm.
And at some point, I just felt at ease, and I just remember sitting back, and I'm like, "So this is it? Like this is the end? Fuck, for real?" And I remember looking at my girl like, "Fuck," and I look at her, and I'm giving her my final goodbye. Like, if I know, like, I just something in my mind was just telling me that it all added up to this moment, like in a deja vu,
Mm.
like everything connected to this moment, like flashes of like my life past, like my son, like my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, everything, like just like flashes of all my life moments,
Yeah, yeah.
highlights or whatnot. And then like at some point, David Blaine is saying that he knows like who created the world and the universe, and
Did you
that
hear that, or he really said that?
I heard him say that, but I don't know what he really said. Because what's the trip about this whole story is that I kept telling the story right after it happened. Like right after I stopped tripping, I kept telling it to my cousins, and a lot of it, I was actually like a lot of the words that I was actually saying out loud. I was really saying them out loud, like to them, like because I was telling them, and they're like, "Yeah, you were doing that. You were literally saying the same thing that
Oh, wow.
because after I was thinking like, damn, from what I was seeing, like what really was I saying, and what really was I just thinking, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's words obviously that I was saying out loud, and obviously, but there was also like words that I was just thinking because I was hearing voices in my head, and I was hearing the crowd, and somehow everyone in the crowd was talking about me at some point, and
Mm.
they all just knew that it was my final moment, and then it turned into the Grammys, and it was like the stage. Like that same stage that I was looking now is a straight stage, and I'm like, damn, so this is the end. Like, and after I'm saying like my final goodbye to my girl or whatnot, like I kiss her for the last time, like Like if it was the last moment ever, bro, of life. Like I'm crying, by the way, while all this is going on, while there's a
Oh,
magic show going on, because I think it's my last moment on earth.
yeah,
Then it's the Grammys, right? And I'm like, damn, for real? I'm like, so is Nipsey Hussle here? And then my cousin is next to me. He's like, yeah, he's here, baby. He's always here. And I'm like, damn, fuck, this is the end.
oh shit.
And I remember every time I would talk like that, like I was like, this is the end. I would hear like a laugh, like if it was like if I was in my own show and the crowd was trying to convince me to get on stage, and every like moment of every little word I would mutter, like they would just laugh, like, yeah, you're getting it now. Like, okay, Nipsey is here. Like, damn, so I need to go on stage. And then I would hear like people say, like, yeah, you do. Fuck. I'm like, fuck. So this is the end. This is really the end of the world, of my existence in this world. And then it's like flashes of just like understanding like what the world means in a weird way. Like
Mm.
everything was just explained. It's hard to like explain those flashes because it was like just glimpses of like reality, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then at some point it was like you had to get naked. Like I have to get naked because I kind of like came into this world like naked, and that's how I have to leave, right? So at that point I'm like, fuck, okay, fuck. So I start taking off my clothes. I take off my belt. I throw my wallet. I take off my watch, throw it. And then like it's like all the material things, it doesn't matter no more, like none of that matters.
Yeah.
And I start making my way towards the stage, fool, because something is telling me that I need to go on stage and save David Blaine before the time runs out. And I remember telling my cousin right before that, like, how much time do I have? He's like, you got all the time, baby, like in the world, I'm like, fuck. No, but this is it, fool. Like, this is it. Like, my time is up, like, and I'm crying and I'm like, fuck. Because it would turn into different realities. It would be like one of my realities at that point was I had to go on stage and save David Blaine, right?
Mm.
And sacrifice myself by doing that. Like for him to continue and live on in this world and continue to do his magic, because in reality, what he was saying is that his magic is really real. And that not only was it real, is that the creator of the world like was behind him during
Mm.
his magic.
Yeah.
And that he brought me up to this ceremony, and that I've been a fan of his music since I was a kid, and it was my dream to be there, and it was my birthday, and it was a full circle, and everything was just every deja vu and everything. I had a lyric like of one of my songs, like pack on my bags, head to Vegas. Like everything was just all that flash all in once. Like, and it was just like, okay, like I was meant to die because it's just too coincidental. Like there's no coincidence here that everything is just landing to this one moment. And somehow David Blaine is talking to me, like what he's saying, like he's saying like, I know the creator, I know that, and he's like explaining to me the meaning of life.
Mm.
It's so crazy, like because it was so vivid during that time, like to where, because I had never tripped out, I had never done anything like that before, so I had never visualized, I had never hallucinated anything in my life.
Mm.
Like I had yeah, I had never hallucinated like that ever, ever. So it just felt so real to me. And I was just like, damn, this is so crazy. Because I remember like once I was saying goodbye, I was just like, and it was like if it was I was giving like my acceptance speech for like an award or something, I was just like, I love everyone. Like I just want everyone to know like that I love you. Like I remember I was crying for my son. Like I just wanted to hug my son one last time. I was like, why if I could see everything right now, why can't I see him? Or why
Mm.
can't I hold him one last time? And then I remember saying thank you like to the world. I just remember saying like I love everyone. Like, and I love the world, like because I just knew like that I was at one with not only myself, but the whole world, with the universe. Like it was so crazy. I had never felt that way before, so it was so trippy. So then I'm trying to get on stage, right?
Yeah.
Right before I try to go on stage, at that point where I'm taking off my clothes, I died once because as soon as I'm taking off my clothes, um, I hear like beep, 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 beep. I hear the nurses like trying to save my life, and I'm like, okay, now I'm in a coma. I'm like, fuck. And then I see like that I fall, boom, and now I'm laying down flat, and now I see like I see the dirt being thrown, boom, on top, and I'm like, all right, and then I just see black, boom, like the coffin closed. I'm like, all right, but I didn't really die, and then I got up, and that's when I got up and I was trying to get on stage. So then I'm trying to tell the security guard, like, bro, you don't even know, like, go ask David Blaine, like he'll let you know that I need to get up there.
Mm.
And this guy was like, bro, like you're tripping, like, and luckily, bro, like at that point, I didn't have a shirt on, and then I guess my cousin had thrown my coat on top of me. So at that point, I had a coat on top of me, but no shirt on, and like my belt had like my pants. Like I don't wear my pants too baggy, so they weren't too bad, but I didn't have a belt. And luckily, there was like an exit over there to where he could like started guiding me towards the exit, right?
Mm.
And I was still like thinking, like, bro, no, I gotta get on stage because what I was visualizing was like, I just need to get on stage. And then I go outside. Now I'm outside of the whole casino, right? And now my visual, it's like, fuck, I'm in the street. So it looks like GTA. And I remember saying, is this like GTA?
Mm.
Like, could I commit a crime? And should I commit a crime to get back on stage? Like, I remember thinking that,
That's funny.
like, could I do anything it takes at this point to try to get back in there and go on stage? And then at some point during that, I was just like, fuck, if this is it, then let me stop tripping. Like, let me just go. Like, if this is it, let me just accept it now and just let me go then. And I remember getting like trying to take off my clothes again, and I just laid down flat on the pavement in the Vegas cold weather, bro. And I didn't die again. And then now I'm in the car, and now I told my cousin, bro, just take us back to the Flamingo, and we're gonna just go chill back at the room. But he started driving towards like old Vegas, old Vegas. It started looking grimy. Then my visual started becoming underworld stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember rock and roll music coming on, like no, like heavy metal actually. And the trippy part about all of this is like the next day when I was telling my cousins again, they're like, bro, heavy metal did come on, but it was just the radio that was just randomly on. But
Who's
like
though?
little
Like
things
in the car or
in
outside?
my car, yeah, he was
Oh,
driving my car. He was driving my car because I had drove there, but he ended up like going to get my car. They ended up going back to get my wallet. Like those my cousins were like over there, like really doing the most, like to make sure I wasn't fucking didn't get arrested, bro. Like luckily.
mm.
And yeah, so it started turning into like evil a little bit.
Mm.
And then there was there was like different glimpses of different deaths that were possible, like, and that at some point, like, my vision was telling me that it didn't matter how many times I was gonna die, I'm never really gonna die.
Mm.
And then it started taking me like down like a underworld type of visual, but I never let my trip ever get me too deep into that. At that point, I like looked like, at my girl, and for some reason, she never. When I looked at her, she never turned into anything else, or like I could look at her, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm a little better now, and then I'll start like looking at something else or trying to focus on something else to not go down like a bad spiral in this trip. But then I ended up going to the hotel, bro, and like during the whole time after that, I did feel like once it started wearing off, I was just like, damn, that was so real because like it just felt so real, like so vivid. Like I had already accepted it, like and then I didn't die.
Mm. So what did you get from that whole experience?
The whole thing is a trip, and I think that a lot of the things that led up to it and a lot of things that happened in my life, like are like fairy tale type shit. Because it just sometimes shit that happens in my life is just like you would think I made it up, you know? Because it's crazy. Like, and there's a lot of full circle moments, and there's a lot of things like, damn, that's so crazy. Like for Christmas, my one of my cousins gave me my girl cousin gave me an actual black mushroom crystal,
Mm.
and she didn't know that none of this had happened, you know.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like a special one of those like stones, you know, that have like a meaning to it or whatnot. And it was just like after that experience, I felt like awakened. Like you said, like that show, the name of it, every little detail of the trip
Yeah.
had little glimpses of that where it's like awakening. How crazy is it that we watched that show? Or, you know, just it's like it was all meant to be, you know. And I feel like it was my birthday. Something always crazy happens on my birthday too. It's like
Mm.
it just always happens to me too.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that. And then that little mushroom she gave me broke in half. Like I dropped it, and then she was kind of telling me that I could maybe bury one side and keep the other, and you know, it's in a way it's like the part I'm burying is letting go of what I don't want in my life, maybe no more, you know, and you know, just keep what I want to continue to grow.
Yeah.
So I feel more at ease with myself and more like I know what I want to do in life, you know, I just want to continue to do my music and just continue taking care of my family.
Yeah, no, that's because even now when you were telling me like that's kind of because see I've experienced that. So it sucks like to experience that and you're constantly reminded. Like just today, right? I saw for some reason I felt sad about that. Like I really felt bad because they showed on the news that some girl, right, 22 years old, she froze to death. I think they said all these people, but I hadn't really been paying attention. I guess across the US right now, it's going crazy, right? The weather. And I know what that is, right? Like when I was in North Dakota, I'm from California, like, dude, like the coldest is like 40 degrees, maybe, you know what I mean? But that's still like not that common, right? Or something like that. And when I was up there and it would be like -50 with the wind, it was insane. Like, and they warned us, right? Like, so they told us, like, I remember driving through the snow and, there'll be a mountain of snow and I'll just floor the car, like, cause I was like, I'm not gonna get stuck, poof, you're like going through, cause you're in the middle of nowhere. You're like an hour driving away from anywhere. So you're like, I'm just not gonna get stuck. So when I watched that today, and I was like, damn, 22-year-old girl. And then they show her grandma crying, like, why? And to me, like, I've gotten under, like, I know, like, I don't know, it seems like that, right? Like everything's already written somehow, some way, even though they tell us there's free will. So I really don't know if there really is free will because see, I've gotten glimpses like that, kind of how you said you kept seeing like all these different things and so when you're telling me that, it brings back flashbacks because I've seen a lot of stuff like that, right? Like to where, yeah, everything connected and, I didn't have to be on no influence, right? Like it's like today, see, like I was up in the mountains, right? Getting a workout. And so for some reason that kind of taps you in sometimes because you're like, you're open, right? I'm in nature, all that stuff. I closed my eyes and I saw a coyote, right? And so
Right.
I forgot about it. I go the whole, I did like 18 miles on the bike, in the mountains. And right as I'm getting to my car, boom, a coyote pops out. And I'm like, what? Like, because when I was riding, barely started, like I closed my eyes real quick, you know, like, because, when you're getting into it, you're like, and I closed my eyes and I saw a coyote. And then right before I get to my car, over an hour later, boom, the coyote pops up, So I was like, dude, like, how is that even possible, right? That that you can see these things, and then like that, like I see it like a movie, right? Close my eyes, boom, it popped out, and then the same way, like an hour later, boom, it pops out, right? So, but a lot of times people need to do like, I guess, mushrooms or acid or stuff to see stuff like this, you know? So while just like, I know I'm all over the place, but like when you said that, that's what it made me think of, like now that you were shown that, and like at that moment you were like, damn, there was a lot you still wanted to do, right?
Yeah, I remember I was crying and I was saying that I was telling my cousin, like there was just so much I wanted to do, fool. And he was telling me, he was like next to me, he was like, "You're doing it, fool. Like you're doing it." And he's like, "You did it, baby." And I was like, "Damn, I did." And then and then flash, it would show like my music like in a billboard,
Yeah.
and it was like my song playing, and I was like, "Fuck." But I'm not there to like see it happen, you know? Like it happened when I died type of thing.
Oh,
That I
wow.
that I ended up making it. Like it showed me a glimpse of the future in a way.
Mm.
And I was just like, damn, so this is it. Like fuck.
Yeah, that's no, like, and see, that's why, like, see, when I seen that today, I think, because it's like, I don't know who decides, right? Like, why did that 22-year-old girl die that way, right? Out of all things, like, why did she freeze to death? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, but see, noticing things like that makes me not want to waste my life, right? Like, for sure. Like I never thought I was gonna live this long. So I do appreciate every moment, right? Like, I do give thanks. Like when I wake up, the first thing I do is I pray, I give thanks, you know, and then go about my day. And every time I remember, I give thanks, right? Cause yeah, I don't know. We don't know how it's written, right? But I feel like you got a glimpse of that when you were going through that whole experience, you know?
Yeah, definitely like my outlook on life and death um is different now. Like I feel like I told you, like every question that I've ever had about life, it was just answered about what happens after
Mm,
you die. Like, and it was just in glimpses and like in flashes of like, I don't know how to explain it, but I wish I could too,
no, I
because
got.
it was
I'm
just like
following. I'm. Go ahead. Go ahead.
visual flashes that. No, I know, but I'm saying like I wish I could like like really remember it, because I just remember feeling like at peace with it after, and I remember even saying like, damn, so I could breathe for the first time like
Mm.
ever. And then I remember like just like feeling at ease, I just knew that it was okay. My brother. So, but yeah, brother.
Yeah, that's
What was I
crazy.
saying?
Huh?
Where did we leave off at?
Um, just about that, like that you were saying you could breathe.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, so I could breathe for the first time. And I just remember breathing like, and I just felt like so at peace with, okay, like I accepted it. Like I said goodbye to my girl. I cried to her. I said goodbye to my cousin. I told him how much I love him. You know, like I talked to uh, like my mom, my dad, my son. You know, like, and at that point I was just like, okay, like let's do it. You know,
Yeah.
and I felt at peace with it. And I felt like because when I first was tripping, I was like, no, I don't want this to happen. Like, why right now? You know. And I was just like, I remember feeling like, fuck, like, no, like, I don't want this to happen to me right now. Like, I don't. And then it was just like, I was visualizing everything that was like, everything that was like telling me, like, it is this moment, bro. Like, as much as you want it not to be, like,
Mm.
you were supposed to be here and you were supposed to walk in here and you were supposed to be in the show. You're supposed to take the car you took and everything led up to this moment and you're supposed to be here and your moment to die, like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I remember when I felt that, I remember it just being so vivid to where I believed it. I'm not a gullible kind of person too, you know. but it was all explained to me in a weird way in visual flashes, like to where it's like, okay, there's no way that this is, this is how it happens,
Yeah.
and this is what happens to everyone. It felt like
Mhm.
damn, this is what it happens to everyone. And then because I would hear the crowd like talk back to me when I would question these things, because I would say these things out loud. I'm like, damn, so this is really it. And then like I would hear voices saying like, yeah, this is it. Like, fuck, for real. And then people would be like, yeah, yep. And it just, I was like, damn, this can't be real life. But it felt so real. So that was the trippiest part of everything. That
Well,
it felt so real that I accepted it.
yeah. No, I mean, it's because see, like so many old cultures, I think religion, see, that's why it's weird. I don't know how these things come about, right? Like religion, when you look at it compared to the older cultures, it's almost like it was meant to control us, right? Because all the older cultures, they have that understanding that it's almost like when we die, we really wake up. Like this is our.
You know what's crazy that you said that? I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
not
I
going.
was I was telling someone else this story, and this person I could tell was like really into God, and he was kind of saying like he was telling me like, don't you think it's kind of like a sign that from God telling you that you shouldn't do these type of drugs?
Mm.
And then in my mind I was like, no, I don't think that way at all. Like I don't know, I just disagree with that mindset because he ended up telling me that he's always been scared of doing mushrooms, right? And I remember saying like to him where I was like, I don't want to be scared of anything in life. I don't want to be scared to do this or scared to do that or live with that fear of like, and even after having this experience, I don't look at it like I'm never gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Because I mean people have used it as a spiritual healing, they have used it in medicine like that. And maybe I'll take a while, or maybe I won't do it around strangers, bro. Because I feel like also the setting I did it was in like a room full of strangers, a magic show that's already trippy. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do it in Yosemite and freaking in a cabin with a bunch of friends. But like, I might change the setting up, but it's not like I'm gonna just fucking live in fear because of I had this moment. It's like kind of the opposite because I'm not scared of what happened. I'm more at peace with it, you
Mm.
know? Like I feel more awakened. I feel more I know what I need to do in life. I know the goals I need to accomplish and I'm just focused on that and that only and that's it, you know?
Yeah. No, and of course, like fear, like I can't, like anybody that's kind of done anything in life that inspires us. Yeah, they didn't listen to the fear. Like, I was tripping out the other day. I was like, I never really paid attention to him, but I was watching like Tom Cruise, and they were showing like how he did one of the craziest stunts like ever done for the new Mission Impossible that's coming out. But I think because of the pandemic, they prolonged it, right? It's like I don't know if they did it like in 2020 or 2021, but it's barely. I think the movie comes out till 2023. But he
Man,
was
that
doing
fool's
this
old,
crazy.
still doing his stunts, huh? His own.
Yeah. That was like 60
That
years
was
old, and he's
crazy,
still.
man.
Yeah. He doesn't. But see, he didn't give in to the fear. I mean, he trains though, right? Like they do it everything to make it safe, and he gets trained, and he'll have like the stunt guys, and they train him over and over and over. So it's that. It's not. And he said something too. It's not about just like doing reckless things, but it's like facing the fear. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so when you do things, um, like spiritually, right? I experience things like that without the without having to do mushrooms or peyote or acid or this and that. That that made me want to do it. Like I still haven't done mushrooms, but I would because I think the things that I already experienced are pretty much the same thing people say when they do mushrooms and all that. And they
Hmm.
freak me out too, like to see, like that. I remember one time, and it always happens to me where there's like a planetary alignment and the super moon and it's a blood, all this crazy stuff. And on those days, I don't know if you ever seen that movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
No.
Well, I don't know. There's like they always show movies how water is like what connects. Because think about it, we come through water. That's the portal.
Right.
If ever there's a portal, we come
70%
through.
water.
Yeah, the
right?
woman's womb, like we're wrapped in water. Imagine we're like a little thing, and we grow inside the water, and that's the portal that we come into this existence. And people don't think
that was the craziest part of that trip because during that moment David Blaine is in water holding his breath, like when we come into this world, and I needed to sacrifice myself and get naked like we come into this world and go and save him, like everything like that I kept telling you, that every little thing was just like adding up to where it's like, bro, it just makes sense. It's so crazy. You get me? Like,
and that's crazy too, because you were talking
and
about
even
the
me and you talking, like us meeting again at that party, it was the same day that the mushroom fell, like, and you asked me that day, like, the trippiest part of the whole thing is you literally just asked me, you remember what you asked me before I told you the story, or no?
Yeah, I asked you about something spiritual.
Yeah, like you were just like, you said, have you had anything happen to you like spiritual lately? And I was just like, oh my God, like,
That's
bro, like
interesting. That's
how
true.
life works,
Yeah, yeah. And I had never asked you anything like that in all the years that I've known you, I think, right?
That's what I'm saying. And my
Yeah.
cousin, for her to give me like a mushroom, like, and then me dropping it, and you were everything. That's why nothing, like I told you, ever surprises me in
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
because that
Yeah.
always happens to me.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Well, I didn't know the whole story, but it makes sense, like I see myself like when things come, like I'll ask people random stuff, I don't question it. Like the other day, I just put it in a video, right? It was crazy because I was in the mountains, right? I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago or something. I was in the mountains and I'm riding, doing my workout on the bike, and I smelled caramel. I like caramel. I like, that's weird. It doesn't make sense, right? Later on, I'm texting with someone that lives all the way like on the other side of the United States. I just tell them for some weird reason, like I tell them like, I'm like, yeah, it was crazy. Has that ever happened to you? Because they're pretty tapped in too. Like, yeah, it was weird. I was smelling like caramel in the mountains or something. Then later on, they didn't tell me right away. See, that's the thing. People, like an hour later or something, I think we were still messaging back and forth. They're like, oh, I was eating a caramel cookie and I was drinking coffee with caramel in it.
That's
I was like,
crazy.
yeah, exactly. I was like, dude, like,
No, yeah. Stuff like
exactly.
that be
How,
happening,
like,
bro.
you know what I'm
Where you
saying?
can't
Like,
explain it, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But something told me to say that. Like, why am I telling this person just like, yeah, I smell caramel in the mountains, but something will like, it's not, I don't hear it, but I know something like pushed me to say that. You know what I mean? Like, just like with you, I guess
Yeah.
something was like, out of all people there, I
It's
didn't
like
ask
what we were
nobody else
talking
that.
about it's like what we were talking about our music, that sometimes we make songs, and that I was saying you the other day that some guy, one of my friends, hit me up and he was asking me like, hey, what's that one song you did about your dad? Because my dad's sick right now and I need something to listen to. So I sent him the song, and I hadn't really realized that. Damn, that's so dope that someone could use my music to heal,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember like the next day after that, I remember listening to the song myself, and I was like, damn, I needed to hear my own song. Like the lyrics that I was saying in that song just like were just like so perfect, and I needed that for myself, and I hadn't even realized it. Like I had sent the link out to my friend. I was like, I didn't realize that it helped him, but it helps me too, like sometimes I say things in songs that I just speak into existence, and it's so freaking crazy.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's why I want to interview more artists like going forward, because obviously music is like has been one of the biggest things of my life, but you know, since this channel was more about spiritual things, but then I thought like, well, dude, like if ever there's people that are tapped in, maybe not everyone realizes it, but the artist, right? Whether you're a painter, even, you know, I asked that to a painter before. I was like, have you ever painted anything that came true? Like something you painted and they're like, well, I never thought of that or nothing. So I don't know if after that, maybe they paid attention, but because I told you that happened with the music, you know, I've always wondered if painters have the same thing, right? Like if they paint something and who knows, maybe it'll come true. You know what I mean? Like some crazy, like it's like prophetic, right? You know what I mean? But no, what you said about your song too, how your song reached like your friend and you know, it impacted them like that. Like, you know, you
It
triggered like
helped
a
them through
memory.
that night, you know?
That
Like
what?
it helped them through that night,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And that was the crazy part of it. Because I remember it was a late night, like DM or he had told me. And I just remember thinking like, damn, like the song just helped him through that night, maybe, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Like I was just like, damn, it's so dope.
No, and this is just that's just the person that reached out to you. Who knows how many other people are gonna hear that too? You know what I mean?
Right,
And
right. Because it was just like an old song that was on SoundCloud. He's like, hey, this song's not even on Apple Music. It's a really old song. And I'm like, yeah, I'll send you the link.
yeah,
But yeah, bro, that's true. Like, you know, I have gotten different messages from different people, and for sure there's other people that haven't reached out but that listen, and that's why I love doing what I do, you know. And I feel like I was put on this earth to do this. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
know it's my calling.
No, and that's like, I mean, how many people go through life without really knowing what they want to do? You know, like that's
Right.
that's the crazy thing. No, and just real quick, like, you know, when you told me that story, you triggered a memory too. Like, you know, I remember there was this song I wrote for this girl I was with, right? And I mean, it was like probably the most beautiful song you could write for a girl, right? Like it was called Thank You. And in the song too, it's like I'm saying like thank you for being born, thank you, baby girl, I'm coming home, something like that. But it's like, you know, and I did it with this one homeboy, like so it was crazy. The homeboy that I did it with, this was already years after we had released the song. He was performing somewhere, so I went to go show him support. And I guess some girl that he knew, as I was walking, she's like, hey, you know, you're so and so. And, you know, she starts singing like the lyrics to the song. And she's oh man, she breaks down crying. She's like, that's the most beautiful song I heard. And the way you're saying, like you're telling this girl, thank you for being born. Like, and I remembered when I wrote the song, I knew how deep it was because I felt it. Like, that's how I really felt. Because this girl, like, I don't know, she came out of nowhere. And then I really felt, but it was crazy because when I wrote that song for her, she didn't even care. It took her like 2 months to hit me up one day on the phone. And she's like, oh my God, I was driving and I heard the song and it's just so beautiful. And I was like, I remember at that point, I was like, I was already cold to it. I was like, dude, I gave you this song. Like, it was like, I thought it was like
Yes.
the most
Yeah.
beautiful shit you could say to somebody and you didn't even care. You didn't, nothing. Like, you didn't say, like, oh, thank you, nothing, like no reaction. It took her 2 months to hit me up and so she dirtied up that song for me. So that song never had the same meaning for me. Like it was like, it's a good song, but like the person I wrote it for didn't even
Yeah.
care. So she kind of dirtied it up for me. And so at that moment that girl was crying about the song, it became her song. To me, I was like, damn, I wrote this song for this
Hell yeah.
girl. You're
Hell
the
yeah.
one who deserves to hear that song. You're the one. Because who knows, maybe
That's
it
right.
would make her want to strive for that, like to not settle for a guy unless he sees her like that, like
Yeah.
damn, you're,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Because
Like, thank you. Like,
that's how she took that song. Like
yeah, yeah,
she took that because that's probably what she wanted for herself. She wanted a guy to really appreciate her and think of her in that way, right?
yeah, yeah.
In
Because
that moment. So she was like, damn, that's so beautiful that you even think to say something like that. Thank you for being born. Like, and it sucks. I've had situations obviously like that too, where I write songs about like a certain girl or something where it's like, damn, after, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But that I feel like exactly those situations though, like in those moments of that one girl, like there, that's why we do, you know, what we do, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you really wrote it for.
Yeah, yeah.
because everyone is gonna listen to that song and just they're gonna take it their own way and make it relate to them in their own life.
Yeah.
So
But
that's the
see, that
beauty of
was
music.
no, but it took me years to learn that from that experience,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy, man. Yeah, well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about. Other than that, like I don't want to keep you forever, but
Um, nah, I mean, just that I'm working on a new album, um, for this new upcoming year, maybe sometime in the summer to drop.
okay. How many tracks are you planning to put on it?
Like 13,
Okay.
13.
You have
So
a name for it yet or
yeah, Memory Park.
Memory Park?
Yeah,
I like it. It's a good name.
that's the
Yeah.
name of the street that I grew up on, actually.
Oh, really?
Memory Park Avenue. Yeah,
Wow. That's a dope.
it just sounds dope, right?
Yeah, yeah. You should
I
go get
know.
that sign.
That's
It's like
true.
one of those signs you could steal and have it on your room. Memory Park.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. From the actual street one.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
Now I'm not trying to be a bad
Incriminate.
influence or nothing. Yeah, yeah. No, that's
That's
dope though.
true.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something that I'm working on. And just dropping new music, new visuals, and just continue to grow as an artist.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I know you have a podcast too. So how is that? Like, are you guys doing it more just a hobby, or you're trying to really push that podcast too? Or
So as far as the podcast goes, it's PD that does the interview. It's
Mhm.
me and PD and also Paige and Monster. Basically, my homie PD, he has a record label that he started, and that's my homie that does all my producing as far as beats, and he shoots my videos and engineers. Like he does it all. So he started his own record label called Mercenaries, and now I'm a part of it. And um, he started this podcast called 12 Notes Podcast, where he started interviewing different rappers, local talent.
yeah, yeah.
And there's also segments in the podcast where we just talk about like current events and music or what's going on, what new albums are out, what we're working on, just different topics. And that's one segment in the podcast that I'm a part of. But when it comes to the interviews, PD has been the one that he does most of the interviewing. He has told me that if I should like start interviewing too, but maybe later down the line. But as of now, that's what our podcast is. It's mostly about music. It's called the 12 Notes Podcast because there's 12 notes in music, and most of the questions he does ask on there are all music related and not too much like focused on like drama and all that.
Ah, yeah. No, that's good. That's cool. Yeah, no, but I'll put links to all that stuff on well, whatever you want. If you want me to put links to your music, I'll put that in the description. I'll put the
Yeah,
YouTube so they could go check it out, check out some of your music. Like
yeah,
what do you
for
think is
sure.
one of your favorite songs that people should go check out? Like of the stuff you
Uh,
already have out.
my new song is called "Sucker for Love."
Sucker for Love?
Sucker for Love, yeah.
Oh, Sucker for Love.
Sucker, sucker for love, yeah.
Yeah, it's already out.
Yeah, it's already out. Like this is right here. Can you see this or no?
What? Oh,
This
I
is
can't.
like a whiteboard that has the title of my album with all the songs so far
Oh,
that I
okay.
have.
That's the memory part. Oh, yeah, I see it says memory part.
The songs.
Oh, it's on there too, the Sucker for Love song.
Yep.
Okay, but it's not out yet.
Yeah. That song is out already.
Oh, you already put it
It's
out. So where is it? On your YouTube or on?
it's on Apple Music. Um, it's on YouTube, but there's no video to it, just the actual song. But yeah, it's on all platforms.
Okay,
Just a
cool.
single. So it's my only single out for the album.
Okay.
The rest have not came out yet.
Okay, so I'll put a link to that song so people could check it out. Is it on Spotify too?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll
it's
put the
featuring
links and all
my
that.
homie Paige Spills.
Cool. Is there any other song you think people should go check out, or
Yeah, there's another video. It's called Ride Out.
Ride Out, and that's already out on YouTube, or?
That one's already out on YouTube. Yeah,
Oh, cool. I'll put the link to that too, so people can check you out.
for sure.
Yeah, man. So thank you for coming on. Yeah, it was a great conversation. The whole mushroom
No,
thing.
thank you, bro.
Huh?
No, thank you. I feel like you've been an influence to me in my life since I was younger. So it's dope that we're having this full circle moment where, I could come on your podcast and we could chop it up, and like we always chop it up in life, in real life. So it's dope to put it on a platform to where we could one day play it back.
Yeah.
And hopefully inspire people to chase their dreams, because not everybody chases their dreams, bro. And it's like you only have one life to live, so why not?
Yeah.
And it's like it's something that I'm proud of myself, that I have never stopped. Like the day I chose to want to do music, like I haven't stopped chasing that goal, and I'm never gonna stop. And I always have looked at you as like a guiding light to where like you've never stopped either. You've never stopped creating. So it's dope, bro. And you've always been there, like for me. I remember like one of my early shows that you showed up to, and you've always been like there in support of me. So I want to thank you for all that. You're a good homie.
Well, thank you for saying that, man. That means a lot. It really does. So thank you. I'm honored to have been there. So thank you. For sure.
I'm honored too, brother. God bless.
Yeah. God bless. Absolutely.
All right, brother.
All right. So on that note, we'll end it. Thank you once again. I'm gonna put all your links so people will check you out. Like I said, very talented. I really don't see nothing stopping you unless you stop yourself. You know what I mean? So just keep at it. You know what I mean?
All right, brother. Thank you, bro.
All right, for sure. Thank you. All right. Peace.
All right.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I want to feel this way forever.